Hey everyone, welcome to the very first Node-RED challenge. This series is all about short, practical exercises that help you build real-world Node-RED skills, one challenge at a time. In each episode, we will solve a small automation problem together, step by step, using only the standard Node-RED palette. And for the challenge number 1, we are starting simple but useful. Your task today is to create a flow that converts a timestamp into a human-readable time string. We'll just use three nodes for this challenge. We'll use an inject node to generate the timestamp, a function node to convert it, and a debug node to show the results. Just to give you an example, upon pressing an inject node, all we want to have is, instead of a long number that represents the timestamp in number of seconds or milliseconds, you should see a nice clean time like 9:05 right here. Okay, so Node-RED already opened up. Let's start by dropping in the three nodes. So as said, we're gonna need an inject, a debug, and a function in between. I'll just connect the three nodes together to form a connection. Currently, if I will be to deploy this, all I can see at the other end is the message payload being passed with the milliseconds being given. Because the debug allows me to reformat this timestamp into a time, you can see it right there, but as a default it just comes as a Unix timestamp. So now let's edit the function a little bit. Here we're gonna start by creating a variable where we're gonna save the actual date. Create that by just creating let date. Okay. And I would like to enhance this function straight away a little bit because I would like to also work on the situation where either the timestamp is given as a message.payload, which is what we're gonna encounter here, but also have this function working if the payload is absent, if there's no payload at all. So let's create three instances. The first one is gonna be, let's check the type of the message payload as being given to us. And if it is a number, we're just gonna create a date class object using a given payload. If the payload is actually already a date object, then we don't have to do anything. We just say that date is the same as message.payload. But finally, if the user hasn't passed anything, so there's nothing in message.payload or it's of a different type, we're just gonna create a new date object. Right. So that already allows us to be more flexible. But now, in order to get individual hours, minutes, and seconds, we'll have to create three more variables. So if I create first the hours, so that will be just date get hours. Okay. But we also have to, we would like to convert it to string so that later on we can patch it together with the others. And also, if we go back to the task itself, we wanted it to always be 2 digits, right? So before we convert it, well, actually, as we acting already on the string, so on this at this stage, it's already a string rather than a number. We can use a very useful function called paddStart. This one will always make sure that the string has a length of 2, and it will always pad it with a 0 in the front if there's no 2 characters present. And exactly the same method we're gonna use for all of them. So date, now get minutes. Here, let's not forget to call it. There's no variables, no arguments that needs. So again, put start to, and we're filling the empty space with 0 if needed. And seconds as the last thing, string date get seconds, put start to, and filling in with 0. Right, so all that is left is just to put it all together. So the message payload that we're gonna return out of this function is gonna be consistent of, so here with $sign and brackets, we can actually call our variables, our internal local variables that we've created. And I'm just gonna call hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay. Of course, comments could be added also to this function for the next person to be using it. Once we have it done, let's have a quick test. If I inject it, there you go, the time is given. If I was just to create 3 other instances, just to test if it works correctly, so if I would have a date object, and let's actually take a copy of this timestamp just for our own use. So I want to take, so that's gonna be my 336. I change this to number, pass it in here. Now let's properly test. So it's current time, as we can see. Let's actually check if the 0 also works. It does. If we use the date objects already, or if we use the number. Right. So that's our challenge now, number 1 complete. Simple but essential step for working with time in your flows. In this series, we'll build up gradually. So each challenge adds a new Node-RED concept or function, from simple logic to full data processing and dashboards. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next Node-RED challenge.